Good morning. Okay, let's file this one under We Are Living in the Future. And if you're new here, I'm Dean Jackson. I've been journaling almost every day for 30 years. These are my journals, and this is what I know so far. We're going back one by one, and we're coming to the end of journal number 1, 17 episodes in to unpack the lessons from journal number 1. I read a lot. And this is one of those things where a couple of ideas that stuck with me for over 30 years were planted in this little time period here of journal number 1. And one of those books was a book called The Discipline of Market Leaders. And I forget who the gentleman was, but he was with Boston Consulting Group. And they found that businesses usually fall into one of 3 categories. Market leader businesses fall into one of 3 categories. They're either a product leader, like Nike or like Apple, or things that are leading with the best products in an industry. It's exciting, and brand leaders, people want to be around them, and they build momentum that way. The second category is what he calls operationally excellent companies. So operational excellence is about the removing the friction, making something as profitable as possible by paying attention to the operational details. So a company like Walmart would fit into that, where they drive low prices through operational efficiencies. Federal Express has to be an operationally excellent company just because of the logistical details. Airlines have to really focus on doing that. And then the third company type or category is what he calls customer intimate companies. And those are companies that are blended with companies that you wouldn't even be able to see the difference between where they start and where the other company begins. And so companies that are like they're in the medical field, in the healthcare field, there are companies that manage hospitals, and those would be an example of that. Or companies that manage hotels, like hotel groups, have very customer intimate type of things. And I coupled that. So my thought about it, because remember, everything that I'm doing in 1996 is filtering everything through a lens of how does this apply to the real estate business. And so my thought was, well, what is real estate? Is it product leader? Is it operationally excellent? Is it a customer intimate? And that was the seed of, well, it's really all 3. And that was the seed of helping me separate the before unit, the during unit, and the after unit. Because the before unit of the business is really a product leader, of leading with identifying people who want to buy or sell their home. And we do that through the Guide to Halton Hills, or through, later, you'll see in the journals, a book on how to sell your house for top dollar fast. Those kind of things are product leadership. The operational excellent part is the during unit, where it's really about the efficiencies and the systems and the checklists and the processes to take somebody from we want to find a house all the way through to moving in. That little during unit period is the operational excellent portion. And the after unit, after somebody is done, that's where it becomes a customer intimate business, where now not just abandoning people once they've moved in and they're no longer, you're not going to make money for another 7 to 10 years if somebody decides to sell the house. And which is often, my observation was that that's exactly what people were doing. They're helping them find one house and then abandoning them and going on to the next and not really revering the opportunity there. So all these books, all these things that I'm learning sort of layer on top of each other, because in this same period of time, I was introduced to a book called The One-to-One Future. And it's by Don Peppers and Martha Rogers. And when I first read that book, this has been one of those things that's really stuck with me for a super long time. I mean, I layer these concepts and try and create my own models around things. That's one of the things I talked about is in the 4 cornerstones is understanding behavioral psychology, then forming your own models of the way things work. And so this one-to-one future, one of the things that they talked about was creating an advocacy relationship. And it's kind of wild. When I look at it now, the things that he was talking about, they were talking about in 1996, were not even on our radar, really. He totally predicted the privacy issue that was going to come up. This is before we've even really gone online. He was saying how in the future, his vision was that instead of people having to be bombarded with everybody trying to sell them individual things, that he envisioned a future where we would have an advocate and we would reveal everything about our personal information. We would share that with our advocate, who would then be an intermediary between us and the marketplace. And I immediately coupled that with the customer intimate type of business and realized that once people move into a house, they are now in a new role of being home owners. And there's lots of things that homeowners are going to need over the lifetime of owning a home. And it was almost like putting on 3D glasses, or almost like being able to step one level higher and look at the whole ecosystem and realize contextually, if you can understand what's going on in a market and you can be an advocate for somebody, realizing that they're going to need lots of different things, this is going to be a winning formula. And so I started looking through and having these conversations with Eben. We would talk about, I was looking for where could you advocate for somebody. I started looking at, on page 157, we have the complete cradle-to-grave analysis of every man's economic expenditures. And I started going down, like, you think about things that are repetitive, things that are going to happen, right? Like, so it starts out babies. That's the beginning of everything. That there's an entire economy around babies, that they're going to need diapers and baby food and clothes and all of the things that go into that. Then babies become toddlers and they're going to need toys and a bike and all of those things. Then preschool kids, where education and pre-K and daycare and all of those things. Then kids move into grade school, where they need school supplies and all of the things that go with that. They become teenagers. They need their first car. Then they get into where maybe they go to school, go to college, get their own apartment. They get engaged. They have weddings. They have babies. They buy a house. They join health clubs. They buy cars. They go on vacations. All these things you can see if you go all the way through to where people retire. They have to retirement planning and into retirement and assisted living and funerals. And you see all of those things are contextual certainties in somebody's life. There are things that there are lots of people that are in those categories. And I started thinking that every one of those could be, how could you be an advocate in each of these categories of somebody's? Like, if you think about it, that you could have an amazing business, and there are amazing businesses that are only built around the baby economy. And you start to think not just how do I do one thing with this, but how can I serve them and be an advocate for them in this entire category? And by the way, if you have a business that serves one of those elements of that, I'm just thinking about one of my friends, one of our email mastery members, Louisa, she helps entrepreneurs do planning for their maternity leave. And we were talking on one of our member calls that she has another friend who helps people get their benefits that they're entitled to in maternity. And we had a conversation on the call talking about this whole thing, because when you think about all of the people that are involved in this, there's lots of opportunity, but nobody is stepping up to organize the category. And that's where there's a big opportunity. You're going to see in a couple of journals how we did this in the wedding category. And of course, I've been thinking this through on how to do this in the real estate category. But suffice it to say, understanding the contextual certainties of what's going on in people's lives really creates an amazing opportunity. On page 177, and this gets more fully expanded into journal number 2, which we're moving on to next, is I started thinking about what are the big categories of where does everybody's money go? And the first 4 that I thought of here are what do people need all the time? And groceries is one of those things. And there'll be some fun stories that I'll tell you about the grocery things. Cars, everybody spends money on cars and transportation. Everybody spends money on their home in terms of all the way from either buying or renting a home to furnishing a home to maintaining a home to improving a home. And that's where I've had a lot of my focus on this. But I'm excited as a precursor to kind of set the stage for unpacking a lot of the stories of how we've applied this thinking. But it would be good for you to start thinking, who else, whatever your business is, who else is serving the same person here? I saw there's an article where, if you notice in the real estate world, there's a lot of consolidations going on. Rocket Mortgage is buying, and they're combining insurance companies and real estate brokerages and this. And the words that really struck out at me were when one analyst described it, that the reason that all these companies are doing this is to have first-party relationship with the most valuable relationship in America, which is a first-party relationship with a homeowner. That's where all of the biggest expenditures get spent, in the home category. So exciting stuff. This concludes journal number 1. Stick with me. Hit that like button, subscribe, tell your friends, come back, get notified, all of the stuff. This is journal number 1, 17 episodes. We got 150 journals to go, and I hope that you'll stick with us for the whole journey.